This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of Make It Happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I'm joined by my co-host, my brosif Josh Rusin, community director here at Jake Gino. Mr. Rusin, how are you today?
Gino, doing well, man. Super excited to be on here with you and just super excited of all the things we got going. How about you? How are you doing today?
Well, you made a little comment about my hair. My hair's a little jacked up this morning. I went for a golf cart ride here. I had to go get some Starbucks with the kids, get ready and back, jump on the podcast with you. I'm doing great. I'm doing really good.
I like it. Taking the Florida Ferrari across the street to get caffeinated. Doesn't get any better than that, huh?
Couldn't say it any better than that, my friend. That's right. At the fraction of a cost.
Love it. Actually, what I'm super excited about is our guest today on Movers and Shakers. We got Jadde Rowe. A little bit about Jade. So he grew up in a suburb outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. He graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's degree in operations management and a minor in economics. Jade worked for a Fortune 500 company as an internal IT auditor. He worked that role for almost 2 years before leaving this past February to pursue real estate full-time. He recently closed on his first multifamily acquisition, an 18-unit in a submarket of Minnesota. He's currently self-managing that along with 80 additional units that his family business owns. Wow. Welcome to the show, Jade. And Jade, before we kick this off, let's tell the listeners, how old are you?
I am 24. I actually just turned 24 about 2 weeks ago. So
24,
happy to be here.
Making it happen. So Jade, let's first start about this. I mean, obviously your family was in real estate. When did you decide that's the path you want to get in, and why pivot from where you're at as an IT auditor to this?
Yeah. So for me, I kind of, was reflecting on that also. And I looked back at, even when I started in the corporate career, I always was writing down my goals. And one of them was just to kind of purchase a duplex, and work that system and house hack it. So I was always interested in real estate, but, I got kind of more and more tired of, the corporate world a little bit, not having that freedom, not kind of being stuck in that position and seeing the barriers that I had to go through to get to where I wanted to be. So then I looked for other paths, and I knew real estate could take me there. I just didn't know exactly what route I was going to take because there's just so many options out there, so many things that you have to consider. And then, this past, I would say this winter, I went to a few meetups. I went to an event, and I realized this is what I want to do for sure. And my life consisted of literally just going to work to make the money. And then outside of it was all real estate. Before work was real estate. After work was real estate. Even during work was real estate, just learning and talking to people and making calls and things like that, looking for a duplex at that time. And then, I just had this realization, I need to get out. And I actually saw, your guys' community, got involved with that because there's just so much education out there. And I wanted to have one spot, one group that I go to, and you guys were that point of contact. And it was actually with my first call with Bill Ham. Shout out to Bill. He was the one who just absolutely slammed me. He was like, hey, you're obviously doing successful. You know what you're doing. You have a family that's already in it, but how are you going to make it happen now? And he's like, for me, it was like, I need to get out of this role that I'm in and go pursue this full time.
So it's funny, Jade, you had a sort of a similar path like me. When I first got out of college, I was in reinsurance accounting. That was like watching paint dry. I think IT auditing is probably watching paint dry 3 times. That sounds even more painful than insurance accounting. So
it was a lot of Excel spreadsheets, making sure people didn't have the access that they needed.
So let me ask you, why did you go into that? I mean, what made you go into that field?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of the norm essentially. My parents they never pushed real estate on me. They just pushed hey, go after what you wanted. And for me, you just look at today's society and culture, and a lot of people my age, it's you go get a 4-year degree from a prestigious university, and then you go find a nice fancy job where you get that 2% raise every single year. And we were at the college I went to is all Fortune 500 companies that you wanted to go work for. So for me, I went into that position. I also at that time had an interest in IT, I guess. So I wanted to look into it. I knew there was good money in it, but after a year and a half, I was like, wow, this is not what I enjoy doing anymore.
So I want to give a big shout out to Dylan Marma. He's introduced me to a book called Big Shifts Ahead. And I think everybody should take a look at it because it breaks down demographics from the people born in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. The 30s were savers from the Depression. And it breaks it down. And it's really interesting how things have shifted over the last 20, 30, 40 years. Every generation has its own, every 10 years, the generation has its own, identity. And now our parents are telling us what they were doing back in the 50s and 60s. And that worked for them because they would get a job. They'd work with a company for 40 years. They had a defined benefit plan. It wasn't a 401k. It was defined benefits. So when they retired, they had comfort. There was only a one person owner. Now everyone's got a cell phone. Everyone's got 2 cars. Everyone has a big mortgage. Everyone has student debt. So this W-2 job does not work anymore. And that's the problem when we're listening to information that was relevant 30 years ago and we're trying to apply it to today's standards. It does not work. That's why we all need a side hustle, a second job, and hopefully you can find something that you really like to turn it into a first job. How did you find the Jake and Gino community?
I found the Jake and Gino community actually from Eli Sunderland. He was posting on Facebook about his acquisition. And at that time, I was kind of having the realization, like the duplexes that I was going to purchase, if I was going to purchase one and then do like a refi and roll into another one, fix it up, that wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to be as soon as I wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. So I saw he closed on that 62 unit and actually reached out to him. We got coffee and then he introduced me to Josh, and it just went from there essentially. Like had a couple conversations with Josh and I was like, yeah, I'm all in because there's just too much. Education is so abundant right now in just real estate. And I was getting overwhelmed. I was like, okay, I can go to Bigger Pockets. I can go to these different communities and these different platforms. But I really was attracted to multifamily, 1, and then 2, just having one spot to go to, an awesome group of people that are actually making it happen, actually doing it, and just focus on that one area.
I wanted to distill a key to success there. So what I hear and what I see is a lot of people early on, they get in this information overload, almost a decision fatigue, trying to consume different sources of knowledge, not knowing what the real step 1 is and the real step 30. And they don't differentiate action from productivity and actually moving the needle. One of my mentors early on gave me the acronym FOCUS. Follow one course until successful. So finding someone that you like, has the results you want, you trust, that you believe they care for you and can help you get where you want to be and replicate those results, and then diving all in. And Jade, I got to give it to you. You did exactly that. You took massive action, and then having a coach. So I want to see the blind spots and push what's capable out of you, even when you don't see it in yourself early on. So, I mean, those are some massive keys I was able to distill, and hoping you, the listener, can take those and implement those in your life as well.
So Jade, what were the 1 or 2 biggest characteristics of the Jake and Gino community that really helped you push you over the hump? Was it the education? Was it the networking? Was it the coaching? Was it the training? What would you pinpoint it to?
Yeah, I think at first it was definitely like the education portion of it. I was reading books and educating myself, but not at the level of multifamily. And I liked, once I got on your guys' program, I mean, every single night I was coming back from work and I was pounding out those videos, taking down notes, watching them, listening to the podcast. Did that for about, a month and a half, 2 months, got through majority of it. And then Josh hooked me up with Bill to have just a coaching call, strategy call, introduction call. And that was another, big step in stone, because he really slapped me in the face. Like, hey man, like let's go make this happen now. Like if a broker calls you at 2 p.m. in the day, can you go and look at a property? I'm like, no, I can't just leave my job right now. I'm stuck. I mean, it was hard enough just to get on that call with him. I didn't really get much of a lunch break or anything. So just making that call was a struggle. And after that call, he's like, I think you can make this happen. You can do it. You just need to free up your time. You need to go find something that, you can do on the side or whatever, and get the experience. Because one of the gold nuggets that he told me, and I know we'll probably get to this, but he was like, why would a millionaire trust you with their money? Why would someone, what experience do you have, what value do you have, what's your value proposition that someone would trust you to go in a partnership? For me, it was like, even though I have family, like if they weren't family, why would they trust you and value your education and what you're doing? So he's like, you need to go make something happen. And the education is great. its starting point. But for me, it was like, I wanted to get more in the weeds, and I wanted to be like, an asset manager, and I wanted to have that experience where I could bring to the table. And, leaving my job was the first step in that. I remember after that call, I went and like applied for 20, 30 positions, all sorts of different things, just went ham. But those were the two things, definitely, like the education, and then the coaching from Bill was awesome.
So there's a couple of nuggets that everyone has to hear. First of all, what Jay did was he got the education, but he actually went through the education. And he didn't get overwhelmed. So it's important that you actually go through the education. He was on the weekly lessons every Monday, going through the weekly lessons. I would see his progress inside the platform. So I know he did a lot of the things. The other thing that I think that is really important is he surrounded himself with like-minded people and people who pushed him, which is really more important. And people don't understand that. They think they're just getting a few training videos and, hey, get a call here and there. But it's really that step of quitting your job. I'm not going to say you wouldn't have been able to do it, but you did it a lot quicker because you have other people pushing you and making you see it. But if you're by yourself and you were with other W-2 employees, you'll slack off a little bit. That's your peer group. Your peer group is where you're going to perform. If you don't raise the level of your peer group, or you are able to raise the level of your peer group, it's not going to happen. So when you surround yourself with those people, when you take calls from Bill Ham, it accelerates things so much more. And I think that you did it. The motivation is great. I want to touch upon the first deal. How did you find that first deal?
Yeah, I found that actually at a meetup. I was going to a ton of different meetups here in Minneapolis, and I was at a meetup talking to another investor, kind of talking to him about the markets that I was looking at. And there was a broker that literally just kind of was overhearing our conversation. I was like, hey, I heard you're talking about this market. I think I might have some deals coming up. Let's talk. So I talked to him during that meetup, and then after, and one of the properties that he had in his back pocket was like exactly in the area that we wanted to go, where I was looking. I'd spoken to a few brokers. I'd actually driven the area a little bit because I wanted to know where to go, where I didn't want to be, where I wanted to be. But yeah, he was like, he sent me over the rent roll. He sent me over the T12. He sent me over the information. Right away, I knew it was a mom and pop owner based on their financials. It was all over the place, which is great, and
I see the smile. You hit
yep.
Right?
Ding, ding, like, this is going to be a messy one, but at least there's a lot of value there. So I looked at the location. I actually went then and drove up inside again. It was actually one of the ones that I had driven past earlier and taken a picture of. And then it just kind of went from there. I mean, obviously we got a time to schedule a property tour, and yeah.
So I want to back up a few minutes. How did it feel quitting the job when you actually quit? How did that feel?
Oh, I mean, I was scared. I mean, I still have just a couple of days, everything, you have doubts that run through you, but I was so like sick of just being stuck, and like now it's just so much more freeing, and I'm working way more, but I actually enjoy the work. It's not like I found that, at that position, I was stuck in that work mode, and then you kind of like left and you were in like the play or enjoy your time mode. And now it's like I shift back and forth all the time. If I have to go grab lunch with someone, I do that for fun, and then I go to work after that. So it was very scary at first. I mean, you're leaving a W-2 job to now be, for me, it's straight commission on my regular job, and then doing this, so it was definitely scary, but I know that I'm planting the seeds now to make myself where I want to be in the future. I might not be seeing the immediate results as far as, monetary stuff goes, but I mean, I like sold my car right when I quit too. Like I had a loan on there. I was flying high. I was making good money, and I got rid of that, went and bought a cheap car for cash. I didn't have a loan on that. So, I mean, it was scary, but I knew that I didn't want to be there in 10 years. I want to be somewhere else.
It's important that you say that, because I think multifamily, like any business, even when we created Jake and Gino, you've got to plant seeds. Yep. And you've got to defer a lot of instant gratifications. But by the time the next 3 years, you'll be able to buy any car you want. And that's the problem with people. That's the problem with, I don't want to say this generation, but cell phones and Amazon, it makes everything instant gratification. I remember years ago, we have to lick a stamp and actually send something through the mail and actually wait for it. Now you can get stuff delivered on Sunday. So it's really hard to start a business. I think that's one of the biggest boundaries for people to get into multifamily or to start a business, is that you're not going to get paid the first 6 months or the first year maybe, or the first 2 years maybe, or you might get paid something small and you have to defer all those payments. But When you can refi that property after 18 months and you've got all your money back and you've got a tax benefit and you're able to buy another asset with that, it makes it really worth it. So there's that inflection point in your life where you need to say, I don't want to be a soul-sucking job. I want to do something that's really cool. I want to start planting seeds, and I want to start taking back my time, because time is the most precious asset we have, whether you're 24 or whether you're 74. It doesn't matter. It's important that people realize that when you get into multifamily, it's not a transaction-based business like single-family homes. It's more of a long game. Even if you're syndicating and you're buying a property, it's going to take 18 months to 24 months for you to reposition a property on average if you're just getting into it, even if it's a 15 or 20 unit. But that time flies, and you're getting cash flow while you're doing it. And then at the end of the rainbow, you're able to refi or sell it out and get into something bigger. So that's important that everyone has to realize. What was the opportunity in the deal that you said? You learned from Jake and Gino that mom and pops are everywhere. They don't have to look like mom and pops physically, but they can have terrible management. They can have terrible expenses. They have the death spiral where they're not collecting enough income. What was the opportunity on this property?
Yeah, the first one was the rents, and they were where they were right now. I mean, we can raise them by $30, $50 exactly where they are right now. I knew the rental market in that area. I knew where they should be for a 1-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. So I knew that there was a lot of opportunity right as it sat. But I also knew that some of the other units that we had upgraded a little bit with, a little bit more, better appliances, newer cabinets, newer light fixtures, we're even getting more than that. So there was just a lot of value in the rents as they sat. And then also I loved the area. The area is just absolutely blowing up right now. There's like a school district. They're in this submarket, they're the best school district, and everyone wants to take their kids there. So I really like the area. It's in a residential spot, like literally all single family homes, and then our apartment, and then another one. So between the area growing, and I know we can keep it full, and then the rents where they're at with few, again, very basic touch-ups. You don't need to go in there and spend $5,000 a unit. I think we'll spend probably $1,500, maybe $2,000 a unit, and we'll get probably $75, $80 rent bumps.
So it's funny, just the education alone right there, I saved you $3,000 to $4,000 on the unit turn, because the biggest mistake that most newbie investors make, including myself, is they think they need to go into a unit and spend $10,000 ripping out cabinets, ripping out flooring, changing the floor design, putting in granite tiles and all that kind of stuff. You don't need to do that on these apartments, on these mom and pops, on these workforce housing. You can spend literally for a complete turn between $2,500 and $3,000 with resurfacing countertops, painting the cabinets, doing some flooring, painting the walls, maybe some light fixtures, maybe some fixtures for plumbing. It doesn't have to cost more than $3,000 per unit, depending on what market you are. But for the average Southeast market, $3,000 per average turn. Whereas when you first start out, most people are spending $7,000 and $8,000. So just base that on your return. If you're going to be able to raise rents by $50 and you're spending $3,000, it's not that bad. You're going to get a return within the next 5 or 6 years on that money. Plus you're increasing your NOI. But if you're spending $10,000 and you're only going to get $50 a month in rent bump, that doesn't seem like a great investment to me,
Yeah, that's a big part that I took out of the education, was always looking at, that your payback is like, okay, we can go vinyl flooring or we can go like ceramic tile. It's like, if the clientele in that area are going to be just fine with the vinyl flooring, we'll be able to get our rent bumps where we want them. If we add these small light fixtures, things like that, we might as well do that, because it's going to pay us back just as fast, or faster than doing something, going over the top, essentially, like the granite countertops, just ceramic tile. If you don't need to do that, don't do it.
So what's your strategy with this property going forward? Are you going to hold it? You're going to refinance it? You're going to sell it?
Yeah, we plan on holding it for, I would say 5 years, and then refi it. We have community financing on right now. I'd like to get it over to agency quickly as possible, essentially. So the plan is just to hold it for 5 years, refi it into agency, and then roll. And if we pull some cash, I'll roll back into another investment and hold it long term.
That's awesome. That's really good. Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors.
Hello everybody, this is Jake Stenziano, co-founder of Jake and Gino Multifamily Education. We are super excited to be bringing Multifamily Mastery Live to Orlando this October 19th and 20th at the Gaylord Palms Resort and Convention Center, located 10 minutes from Disney and the airport. This event is going to be the multifamily event of the year. Our team is going to be providing unparalleled networking education, and capital raising opportunities. The event will be formatted utilizing our 3-step investment framework: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Your experience will include networking with brokers, lenders, and vendors from across the multifamily spectrum. Our speaker lineup consists of doers, or as Gino likes to say, the doers, meaning that these are professionals working in the business, making it happen day in and day out. If you're ready to take the next step in your multifamily investing career, click the link and get ready, because it's time to make it happen.
All right, Jade. So I definitely got some short answer questions here, and way to go on that property. That's absolutely awesome. Again, real quick before we dive into that, we got a young guy here defying stereotypes. Most people say it's not the right time. I'm too young. Brokers won't take me seriously. Here we have another example of Jade making it happen at a young age.
I don't have money. I don't have any credibility. I don't have any deals. The list can go on and on and on, right, Josh? And we hear it every day. And if you're in the denial phase, that's fine. But I mean, don't use that as an excuse, because we have so many Jake and Gino students and employees who are working with us that are making it happen in multifamily right now. It's never the right time. I can be a testament to that, Josh. Every time I've had a child, I've got 6 kids. It's never the right time to have a kid. I'm telling you that right now. So if everyone thinks that way, I'd be childless right now. So that's how it is in life. And it's the same thing with multifamily. It's never the right time to get into it until you're ready, until you're educated, until you surround yourself with like-minded people, until you build a network. It's not the lack of money that stops you. It's the lack of opportunity and the lack of actually thinking outside the box to be creative, to take these deals down. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, Josh, but I had to get that off my chest.
Boom. I love that. All right, Jade, some short answer questions for you. What is your favorite book you've ever read?
Favorite book I've ever read is I actually really like Crushing It. Crushing It, I believe. I really enjoyed that book. I took out so many golden nuggets from it. I've actually reread it a few times, and now I'm actually reading Atomic Habits with Accountability Pod, and that one is probably going to be either my new favorite or second favorite, because that one is just so much actionable content. To anyone who's looking to read a new personal development book, I would highly recommend starting Atomic Habits. We're halfway through it, and I've already gotten so much out of it and so many things I need to change myself. So
that guy is amazing. That book, I've recommended it to a lot of people, and anyone who wants a framework on how to create good habits and how to think about goal setting in a different way. It's not just thinking of the goal as the outcome, but really creating processes and systems on how to achieve goals. You need to read that book. I mean, I got recommended by somebody in a podcast previously, and I was like, yeah, okay, it sounds like a stupid title, stupid name, but really, all you need is incremental learning, that little bit of learning every single day, and you just continue to create those habits, and then all of a sudden, your I guess success lags your work. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to have 150 units you've been working for the last 5 years. You're like, how did that happen? It's because you got up every morning, you put in LOIs, you talked to brokers, you actually walked properties, you went to the coffee shops and met investors, you kept doing those little grinding daily activities that led to weekly things, that led to quarterly goals. And all of a sudden, before you know it, that was a little incremental. So that's really, really powerful book. I'm glad you mentioned that. I love that book. So anybody out there, 3 books, The Big Shifts Ahead, and I got another one, No Can Do, that Josh put me onto, and Atomic Habits. Those 3 books, I mean, they're really fantastic books.
Boom. Speaking of habits, Jade, what's your best habit for success and why?
Morning wake up, go through my kind of savers. I essentially just doing a little silence, meditation, and prayer, little affirmations. I read Millionaire Mind, so I go through I have a millionaire mind now. And I have to get up in the morning and just do literally, sometimes it's only 30 minutes, or even 20 minutes, but I have to just get up and just take that time to wake up, thank myself for what I have, get my mind right, and then write down my goals if I have time, write down my daily tasks, the things I have to get done. Waking up just 30 minutes earlier than I probably want to get that time in is definitely been my biggest habit for success.
It's a game changer. How can the listeners get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me. I mean, on Facebook, reach out, just Jadde Rowe. Instagram, I have an account as well. I need to step up my Instagram game, but it's there. jrowe_95, or you can email me at j.mmr. That's M as in mom, and then row equity@gmail.com.
And for all you listeners, we'll put all that information in the show notes. So you want to reach out to Jade, a make it happen guy who's crushing at a young age. Gino, you got anything?
I mean, we could wrap this up for like another 30 minutes. I just think personally, you have to figure out what you want to do in life, right? I mean, if you don't mind the soul sucking job and 10 years from now, you're going to be climbing the corporate ladder and that's what you want to do, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just be clear on what you want. Be clear on what your goals are. Be clear on what you want to achieve personally and just go for it. And if you think multifamily is the right thing and you want to start expanding your portfolio or learning, or even want to become a passive investor, you still have to learn these skill sets. You still have to learn how to underwrite deals. You still have to learn how to analyze these properties. Take a look at the Jake and Gino community. Talk to a few of the members. See if the education is right for you. Take the next step.
Boom. Absolutely love it. Jade, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest on the show and sharing your movers and shakers story. Guys, if you want to be the next guest, email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. If you like the show, please leave us a review. Until next time, let's make it a movers and shakers week. See you, everyone.
Thanks, Jade.
Guys.